your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back, yes, episode 142 episodes of MinneZona Sports Live, and yeah, we're going strong, still going strong. We love it. And without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Killen, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., 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 and all the way from Woods and Shore Studios in Aiken, Minnesota, Paul Volt, Shield. What's going on, Shield?
I don't recently remember how crazy the NFL free agency period has been in the first couple of days of the quote-unquote tampering period, but this is just an embarrassment of riches for a lot of teams. I am doing fantastic. If only the weather was as red hot as NFL free agency has been so far, we'd be sitting pretty good. But you know what? You get what you get here at this time of year. I'm just looking forward to, obviously, another great show as always.
You know it, and there's money being thrown around like it ain't nothing. And a lot of teams have a lot of salary cap space and whatnot, but at the same time, too, I mean, there's just been a lot of moves that, you know, we saw coming, a lot of moves that we did not see coming. So we've got a lot to talk about on that front. It's going to be pretty much all Vikings free agency for Tater Tot Hot Take tonight. And then we're heading back to the top 10 infamous list. We've got some changes, not too many, but we do have changes. So those will be brought up as well, and then you guys can let us know your thoughts, and you can add your own too. So please let us know. And ARA, got some nice ARAs. We got some free agency talk. Quarterbacks going every which way. Rodgers, we'll quick talk about that. We don't want to spend too much time because we don't really give a rip. He's going to be gone, so it doesn't matter. We're just going to go with that. But anyway, jam-packed show tonight. We appreciate you guys tuning in. And Voldy, I say we just get going right away. Let's do some tater tot. Ooh, hot take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
It is fresh, and it's right out of the oven. And tonight, we're just kind of getting caught up a little bit with Vikings free agency. We're just going to kind of go through the smaller signings, things that we kind of expected, re-signings, things like that. Then we'll get to the big ones like, the Byron Murphy, things like that. And Zoners, let us know what was your either most surprising or what maybe you're disappointed that they didn't go out and get this guy earlier or this guy that got already taken. There's still time. There's still a lot of time left. Let's all be honest here for the Vikings to keep making moves. So tonight, Vikings free agent frenzied. So let's start off with a couple of small ones here. Voldy, remember Kenny Willekes?
Barely.
Yeah.
The name sounds familiar, but glad he's coming back, I guess.
Yeah, I'm glad he's coming back. He certainly had a couple, good games. Obviously he was hurt last year. This was more of a Zimmer product, but apparently the Vikings want him back, and that's okay with me. I'm glad that they got Willekes back. So that's a really good one. Nick Mullins, we have a backup that's not named Sean Mannion and or Kellen Mond. So we got that going for us. So that's good. 2 years for $4 million. Voldy, do you like that deal for Nick Mullins? Backup?
A serviceable backup, but I hear Trey Lance might be on the market here pretty soon. So
well, Are you predicting something? Are we?
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying there's a lot of quarterbacks in that room in San Francisco. And last time I heard, if you didn't know, that Trey Lance is from Minnesota. So
That's true.
just putting 2 and 2 together there.
That's very well true. And something to add on to that with Kirk, Kirk not extended. You know, obviously we're going to talk about that in a second. Restructure. We'll get into that because I do want to. I want to get through these too. So let's go to our next one. Our long snapper got paid, Andrew DePaula. I mean, claps out to him for one. I mean, the guy was literally. I think he was working at, or he wasn't an Uber, but he was working at a car place or something like that, and didn't know if he was going to ever play again. Vikings signed him. Now he's got a pretty good contract, 3 years, $4 million. So claps out to him.
Not bad for an All-Pro. So
yeah, All-Pro, Pro Bowl. Hey, I like it. Oh, we have the best long snapper in NFL history. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good deal, and he did a fantastic job last year, and you're keeping the team together. I like it, so good. Let's move on to our next one. Greg Joseph, he's back. 1 year, $2 million. Do we like that? Because let's give him some credit, because, yes, he's missed some extra points, but they weren't. We obviously want to see him make those, but he wasn't. It wasn't at a time where it was like fourth quarter, like 3 seconds left, and he's got to kick the game winner. We're down by 2, whatever. He hits that 61-yarder, so obviously he has it. Voldy, do you like this deal?
Yeah, I think so. The Vikings obviously have had their issues the last few years with consistency in the kicking department, and just having him back too made some big kicks down the stretch for the Vikings too, and some key comeback victories as well. I mean, that's always good to have him back, especially on a 1 year, $2 million. Not much of a much of a cap hit with that too. So it's a very team friendly contract.
I like that. They give him the 1 year, and obviously it's kind of almost like a prove it type of deal too. So I do like that one. Let's go with a little bit of a surprise here, because I thought he was gone, but apparently not. Jordan Hicks restructured deal with to stay with the Minnesota Vikings. He's obviously worked in a 3-4 most of his career. The Vikings we talked about last week, there Kendricks not coming back and whatnot, so I guess they needed someone to still fill that void. It's not a huge – I feel like it's not like a big surprise, but it's obviously telling the Vikings they're not going to be inside linebacker heavy right now, but they could be in the draft. So, Voldy, do you like the deal with Jordan Hicks?
Well, obviously, considering the fact that they let go Eric Kendricks, and Za'Darius too is pretty much on his way out. I'm 100% sure on that. So Jordan Hicks is, for right now, the one with the most experience for that linebacking core for the Vikings too. So having him back is going to at least provide, because Jordan Hicks is, as much of a prototypical linebacker as you'll get, and, having him with first-year defensive coordinator now and Brian Flores, that's going to, at least solidify some sort of consistency on the defensive side for them.
Yeah, and I like it just because I thought he had some flashes. Obviously, there were some plays you wish that you could have back and whatnot, but I think he is a guy that will fit into the Flores defense just fine, and I think he'll be in the right position. So, and then our next one, and this one, not as surprising, the re-signing of Garrett Bradbury. I know we like to rag on. I know that some people like to rag on Garrett Bradbury. I'm not really one of those people, but I do know that from the tape and what we've been watching, he's gotten blown back a couple times. Yeah, but I like that they're keeping him and Kirk, having that center, and you have camaraderie with him and Bradbury work great together. And I think that's the reason why they wanted to bring him back. But I think if I'm the Vikings right now, I'm definitely either looking towards the draft of adding a little bit more to the interior. And Dalton Risner's out there. I think he's a really good guard that you could bring in. Ed Ingram has his flashes, but are you going to really rely on that? Ezra Cleveland didn't have the greatest year. this year, but that's something to factor in. But how do you feel about Bradbury coming back?
A little bit of mixed emotions as well. You need to see a lot more consistency on that offensive line, but if it's going to make Kirk happy, I guess that's definitely one way to make sure that he sticks around too, beyond obviously with the restructuring of his deal and his contract too. So, I mean, if you've got that back and quarterback's going to be happy, I feel like it's a win-win for everybody. You'd like to see Bradbury obviously have a bounce back year too.
Yep. And I think he will. I just think they got to add some depth now in the interior. So hopefully coming up here they'll have that. All right. So let's get to the Kirk restructure. They were about to take a huge cap hit of, what was it, 30 mil or something like that, over 30 mil. They reduced it and freed up $16 million in cap space. So claps out to the Vikings and Kirk Cousins for doing that and giving us some room to maneuver and sign some guys. And we'll get to that in a second. But are you surprised? Now I'm going to ask this of the Zoners. I'm going to ask this of you, Foldy. Are you surprised that they didn't extend him? What do you got?
Am I surprised? No. I really think, too, with it being, now going to the second season with Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, this is a prove-it year for Kirk Cousins. Obviously, last year worked out really well. Regular season, fantastic. Obviously, losing the wild card round for the playoffs, too, really did hurt the team and how it always ends up being in recent history with the Vikings, too. I think this is obviously a big-time prove-it year because, looking at the draft, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they go after a quarterback in the late rounds or something like that. Maybe try and go for somebody to build into the future because we've seen with the Vikings last couple of years, especially in letting go Sean Mannion and Kellen Mond, too. Different regimes, players, basically, and that's why we're seeing this mass exodus of guys and free agents as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they go out and try to draft a QB late with some of their picks, too, coming up here with the draft and everything. But am I surprised they didn't extend him? No. Am I worried about it? Not entirely. Let's just hope that it's a big year for Kirk Cousins and play himself in for another contract.
Yeah, and I think this is the shades of the new regime. And this is something to where I kind of have pretty much expected it. And you look at the guys that they've let go. We all love Eric Kendricks. We all love Adam Thielen. Dalvin Tomlinson, I feel like, was kind of, they really wanted to get him back. But I think the Browns just offered way too much money for him to say, oh, they're offering me this, I'm going to go with that, which, it isn't too surprising.
Browns are playing with monopoly money nowadays.
They
anyway,
are.
So.
They got rid of Clowney. They got rid of who else? They get rid of Josh Johnson, the safety.
Huh.
So, yeah, I don't know. They're doing a mass exodus, and then they're adding more. So you have
and
that.
Still paying Deshaun Watson $280 million.
That's true. That's true too. That's very true. But guys like that for the Vikings that you'd like to see, because I really like Dalvin Tomlinson. I thought they were going to work out something because who are you going to have in the interior? I mean, right now it's Harrison Phillips and Tonga and Blacklock. I mean, you got to do something here. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go for a little bit of D-line. So, so there's the Kirk restructure. Let's get to the three big signings. The first one that happened early in free agency, Josh Oliver, tight end from Baltimore, 3 years, $21 million. A lot of people were kind of like, why are they doing that? He's just a blocking tight end. They're paying him all that money.
Right.
Well, at the same time, I feel like this is just part of the scheme. I'll explain. But, Voldy, what are your thoughts on the signing of Josh Oliver?
Well, I mean, the Vikings already have the receiving tight end. They got T.J. Hawkinson, so now they need a guy that can also, block at the line as well. Not saying T.J. Hawkinson can't block, but you need the two styles of tight ends. You need one that can catch more than he's going to block. You need one that's going to block more than he catches as well. I think Josh Oliver does fit that mold a little bit more. Vikings have had a little bit of trouble in recent years. I mean, obviously they've had Irv Smith. Looks like he's going to be off for greener pastures, which hopefully bodes well for the Vikings franchise and hopefully retiring number 84. Let's hope that gets done sooner than later in that area. But I think it's just going to come down to obviously making sure that that backup tight end position is going to be, obviously they've had, Chad Munt. They had, a couple other guys come through in recent years. Really haven't solidified that backup tight end position.
True.
So who knows? It might be a handful of guys that come in and try to play their way onto a roster spot as well. But right now, Josh Oliver is that number 2. Obviously, TJ Hawkinson's going to be the number 1. So let's just hope that Oliver. I mean, we're putting 3 years, $21 million into it. Not a bad signing, I would say.
No, and I think people are not understanding what they're trying to do here, and I think someone put it really good on Twitter. And props out to that person. I can't think of their name right now, but they said that having that blocking tight end is almost like what the 49ers do with their run game, adding big body tight end. I mean, George Kittle's like one of the best blocking tight ends and can catch and can run. This Josh Oliver is damn good at blocking. If you saw a lot of his tape, the guy is creating – he's a frickin' tight end, and he's creating holes left and right for his for Lamar Jackson, for, J.K. Dobbins, those guys. And I think, yes, it is a little pricey. I will say it is a little pricey because of the cap. I mean, his cap hit goes up each year for anyone, really. But I like the deal because I think it's trying to fit in to what O'Connell wants to do with the offense, him and Wes Phillips. So I think he can be sneaky in the receiving game too, but I also like the sneakiness of Johnny Munt because I still like Johnny Munt. And they re-signed Ben Ellefson too, which I think that's a little bit.
That was the other name I couldn't remember, Ellefson.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't really use Ellefson that much.
No, I think he got hurt too.
He got hurt
for a little bit, but
that's right. Yeah, so, you have all those tight ends. I like the Oliver signing. I'm not, over the moon. Oh, my God, this is a great sign. We'll see. I mean, I think it's going to help the run game if they're really dead set on holding on to Dalvin, but that could be even up in the air now, too. So we have a lot to think about with that. Mm-hmm. But I think Oliver's going to do great. So, all right, let's move on to our next one, Marcus Davenport. Now, there's a lot to unpack with this because he has shown flashes. This guy is the Aints. We'll forgive him for being an Ain't, but he was drafted by the Aints. He can bring pressure. He can get the sacks, things like that. His last year, though, 0.5 sacks, which not you want to get a little bit more than that, especially if you're paying him $13 million. 1 year, $13 million. Right. I think this is a lot of upside. I like this. I do like this with Davenport. I always was kind of afraid that he would become the heir apparent to Cam Jordan in that defense, and obviously it didn't work out. But I feel like Flores is starting to kind of configure what he wants to do. And if you got Davenport and Daniil on one side too, and you're able to interchange, and I mean, who knows what's going to happen with Zadarius? Obviously, he thinks he's gone, so we got that. But I think this is I think there's a lot of upside, but I also could see this being a huge bust too. So this is kind of more of a prove-it deal. Voldy, what do you think? Marcus Davenport.
Yeah, this is a ultimate low-risk, high-reward situation. 1 year, $13 million. You're not out too much, and like you said, the upside is high on him too. And if you're playing on the same defensive line as Cam Jordan, things are going to get overshadowed, and a few things are going to be looked at with a little bit more scrutiny. So now he's out of that way. He's got Daniil Hunter on the other side, but that's going to ultimately open up some more opportunities. Not saying that he didn't have opportunities down in New Orleans with Cam Jordan on the other side. this just continues the trend as well for the Vikings. They have this revolving door defensive line at least the last half decade, and even beyond that too. They just cannot get guys to stick around longer than 3 years, and it's the weirdest thing. I don't know what it is and why it keeps ending up like this. Long since the days of Kevin and Pat Williams as well, where they played 10, 12 years for the Vikings. And, that consistency. Of course, we had Linval, we did have Dalvin, we had all these other guys in the middle, LaTroy Guion as well.
Oh my gosh,
Ray Edwards, and Sharif Floyd before everything went south with that, with his whole his whole body of work as well. But I just don't get why the revolving door defensive line just keeps changing for the Vikings too. Let's just hope Marcus Davenport can make something out of his time here and maybe even get extended out or something like that. But I mean, again, this is a low risk, high reward situation for the Vikes.
Yep, and we want to see that consistency. Right. And obviously, I think this is a move saying that Za'Darius is there. I feel like the Vikings are entertaining trade requests / if they're going to cut him. So I think that he is the heir apparent, but we'll see. We still have DJ Wanham on the roster, so
true.
I still like that. All right, so the big one, I feel like this is the biggest one. I am really happy they did this because, unfortunately, myself, Voldy, you as well, we're big fans of Pat Pete.
Oh, yeah,
and we love Pat Pete. He loved his time in Minnesota. He signs with the Steelers, 2-year deal. Unfortunately, the Vikings weren't willing to go that route with 2 years or however it went down and however he explained it on his podcast. But he goes to the Steelers, which I don't know if the Steelers are Super Bowl contenders, but whatever works for you. So respect to Pat Pete. I think he's going to do great at Pittsburgh. But the Vikings go out and they sign another Cardinal from his former team, Byron Murphy Jr. Yeah. Welcome to the Minnesota Vikings. I like this. And the reason why I like this, he's 25.
Yep.
He's a playmaker. He is... I'm not saying he's the same as this guy, but he reminds me a little bit of Antoine Winfield and the playmaking ability of Pat Pete. He did wear number 7 last year, and he did quite well. So, and he's locked down some high-profile wide receivers. 2 years, $22 million. They needed to sign a corner. Dantzler gone. Pat Pete gone, all that. So, Voldy, Zoners, Byron Murphy, how we feeling?
I mean, especially with the way that the Vikings let go Cam Dantzler, and, you need the younger version of Pat Pete. I think that's the trend that we're going here with this. And Byron Murphy, obviously playing in a very tough division in the NFC West, and for a team that definitely underperformed the last couple of years, but he was one of those guys that did playing on the other side of a Buda Baker as well, and on the defensive side with being at corner too. So, hopefully this does turn into a situation where we do have the younger version of Pat, because he could definitely provide a lot more consistency on the back end of things too. I know that the defense is going to be a little bit revamped this year with the likes of, Byron Murphy. The signs are pointing towards with Harrison Smith restructuring his contract to stick around. So that'll be a big help with the defensive backfield. I definitely like this deal too. Hey, a little bit pricey, but you know what? Sure. He's still young. He can still make plays, and he's going to earn every cent of that $22 million, I feel.
Yeah, and I think there was a lot of talk on Twitter like they needed to go out and sign him. I think Cam Sutton was a guy that they were eyeing a little bit too.
Right.
And I don't know if they were. I don't know if they were like fully active in that, but I think this is a great signing. And they were willing to pay that money, obviously getting that cap space from the Kirk restructure and whatnot. So that helps. And I think, I'm not going to say he's going to be absolute shutdown corner, blah, blah, blah. I think there's potential. It's just, how is he going to fit into the Brian Flores defense? And I think he's going to fit in quite nicely. I still think they need to keep adding to those to the D-backs, and we all know that. So I'm not too worried. I think they'll be able to do that. But there's one name that I hope that they look at, and I think you know who I'm thinking about too. Duke Shelley. Get him back. I think he wants us to come here. I think they're trying to, and I think he'd fit nice with Brian Flores too. I think it's very possible. So try to get Duke Shelley. Try to get him back. I think he's a guy that you can utilize. So, Voldy, with that being said, you kind of mentioned Harrison Smith, that deal. It seems like he is going to restructure, or if the Vikings really feel like they can trade him or let him go, whatever. Dalvin's been talked about. Zadarius, obviously, we know his intentions because he put it on Twitter, so we got that going for us. So out of those three, well, I think this is an easy one. Out of those three, the likely to be either traded or let go, things right now, would definitely be Zadarius at this point. Wouldn't you agree? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Zoners, let us know what you guys think, too, if you think it's out of those three and whatnot. And you mentioned with Harrison Smith, I think he'll stay. It'll be a restructure, free up some cap space, and then go from there. So, Voldy, out of all of this, and then we'll get to our guy Adam Thielen, is there any guys that you're thinking of and/or, that the Vikings might take a look at and bring in? Because there's still a lot of big names out there right now. You got Odell Beckham. Not saying that they're going to go fully in. It'll be pricey, right? And whatnot. Dalton Risner's out there. I mean, is there anyone you're eyeing right now for the Vikings to go get? What do you think?
Nothing really comes to mind, honestly, other than just looking at the guys that they still haven't either re-signed or guys that are on the free agent market that were from the team. I can't honestly make heads or tails about it.
Teddy's a free agent. Just saw
Good
that.
for him.
Pretty good, Teddy. Bring back Teddy. No,
absolutely.
Hey, I'd be down for it. So, Voldy, I think we've talked about this a handful of times or so. I almost feel like they might go after Odell. Gross. I'm not joking here. And why do I say that? Well, one, Kevin O'Connell was OC when Odell was there, so he's very familiar with Odell. Oh, and Justin Jefferson's best friends with the guy too. So,
of course he is.
I think I wouldn't be opposed. I'm not going to lie, Voldy. I wouldn't be opposed with Odell Beckham Jr. on the Minnesota Vikings. But you got to free that up and whatnot. And I think Zadarius.
A lot to free up, yeah. Yeah,
you definitely have to free up something. Unless you have JJ go and try to recruit him and they figure something out. So, Easy A says, we need Zadarius as a pass rusher because we can't just rely on Hunter.
Yep.
That's true. That's very true. And I think that's why they make that Davenport signing, which I think was good. You still have DJ Wanham. He's still on the roster. He can make an impact too. And then Willekes back. I mean, you interchange those guys. But yeah, I get where you're coming from on that, Easy, because I feel the same way, and I feel like it's way too. I mean, he's in the middle of a 3-year deal, and now all of a sudden, he had 8.5 sacks, at the beginning of the year. He had some injury issues, things like that. But I still think he can. If they don't trade him, hopefully he's still happy here and things like that, or cut him. But yeah, I don't want to see Zadarius leave because I still think he's got a lot to give. So. So that's where it's at right now, and we'll keep you updated, obviously, throughout the night. We've had breaking news before on this show, Patrick Peterson signing, things like that. So myself and Voldy will keep an eye on things. All right, so real quick, Voldy, and then we'll move on to top 10 and famous list. The big news, the Minnesota Vikings release Adam Thielen. This one we saw coming. And we felt that it was coming, all the reports, and then it did. It still hurts. I mean, it still hurts, man. And, people talking about how great of a guy. He is a great guy. He's fantastic. And obviously it sucks. And it's just, I don't think he was willing to come back on a restructured deal because he still feels like he has a lot to give, and he does. But I also understand why they did it, and I think he's going to shine somewhere else. Now, I already told about the story at the Chipotle, things like that. We don't need to go into that. So you heard it before, obviously. But let's think about this. Before the show, you and I were kind of thinking, what potential teams might want to sign Adam Thielen.
Yep.
There's one that we're like, please God, no, at this point, with this news coming out with the Rodgers. And then there's, obviously, he's visiting Carolina, which, I don't know. I just don't think
Vikings players go to die is Carolina, man.
Yeah, that's true.
That in Seattle.
Yeah, that too, actually. So, Voldy, is there a team in mind where you think, at this point right now, where he might sign with? Who do you got?
Early indications, a lot of early reports did say Kansas City. I mean, could the rich get richer on that one? I mean, they did just let go Juju Smith-Schuster. I know, obviously, they do have Kadarius Toney. They do have a few other guys there as well. But to the same skill level of, of Adam Thielen, beyond, obviously, Travis Kelce, there's not a lot of guys from that, from that department, because we looked at last year, too, with, Kansas City winning the Super Bowl and everything. They had a lot of question marks at the receivers, and a lot of guys got hurt, and they were, really scrounging together to put something together, and they made that midseason trade to get Kadarius Toney. He ultimately, was a big weapon, a big X factor in that Super Bowl win for them too. So that just proves to the point more of needing to get a guy, long since the days of Tyreek Hill. And I'm not saying that Adam Thielen is the next Tyreek Hill or anything, but is a true receiver and can definitely go out there and make some plays still, even as he approaches 33 too. So that's definitely one area that is at least one team early on saying that they were interested in. I don't know if those reports have changed at all. Yeah. And the fact that he hasn't gotten signed yet, hopefully there's more of a courting period. Let's just hope it's not going to be to the New York Jets. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So, obviously, I was hinting at the New York Jets with the Rodgers news and whatnot. We all know, Aaron Rodgers and him are kind of buddies, per se, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. But we don't want to see it happen. And we don't want to see him throwing touchdowns and things, blah, blah, blah. I'd rather see Mahomes throwing touchdowns to Adam Thielen. And it's not too far away from Minnesota. So, you still kind of keep within that Minnesota line. So, we just, for this, we just want to say thank you to Adam Thielen for all the memories, things like that. And who knows, maybe down the road, I mean, obviously, he's Ring of Honor for sure. Definitely. For sure. And, we wish him best of luck. I'm going to say, since you picked Chiefs, I'm not going to say Jets. Because if I say that and it happens, I'm going to be pissed at myself. Gosh, what would be another good team that he could go to that I'd be fine with? LA Chargers wouldn't be a bad idea. It is kind of I know the Keenan Allen thing's been kind of bad and whatnot, but I'd like to see Justin Herbert and him kind of hook up. So yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with him to LA Chargers. But Carolina, right. I'm not fully in on that. Go ahead, visit, see what you think, but go from there. So, anyway, we say thank you to Adam Thielen, and again, he won't be far. They'll still live in Minnesota, so he'll still be around, much like Rudy in some aspects too. So yeah, we got that. So anyway, a lot going on with the Minnesota Vikings and whatnot, but we'll take a break from that. We got top 10 in famous list, Voldy. I think it was 2 times ago, we immortalized infamous Jameis. We could be immortalizing somebody else, and we will talk about that too. So we have our updated top 10 in famous list coming up right next. So let's get it going and give you our top 10.
Here's the list no one wants to be on. Infamous Top 10.
You know what's interesting, Voldy, is right when I said that, that we immortalized infamous Jameis to the infamous the Hall of Shame. He signs again with the Aints, 1-year deal, which
What?
is yeah. Did you know that? Yeah,
No.
yeah. This was
Gross.
is yesterday. I couldn't believe it. I was just kind of like, wow. Derek Carr, and then you're gonna have infamous Jameis backing him. It's
All
just
right,
the
I
Aints,
guess.
man. I don't understand it. I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, let's get it going with our top 10 and famous list. Voldy, I think I'll start. You go
right.
second. And this list, there hasn't been much change, and I'll try to go through it as quick as possible because I do want Voldy's thoughts on his because he made a lot more changes, I feel like, than I did. So let's start it off and reveal. Here we go. So, starting off, number 10, Zach Wilson. I still think it's fresh in our memories with Zach Wilson. Obviously, he could care less about what people think, and obviously he thinks he's above everyone else. But now you have Aaron Rodgers coming in, which we'll be talking about in a little bit. But yeah, so are you going to give that veteran hell now, Zach Wilson? Please tell us. See how that goes for you. So he's at 10. He kind of went down a little bit. But someone who has made their debut on the top 10 in famous list, Ja Morant. Now, why do we have Ja Morant? And Voldy's got him on there as well for his. Dude, like, Steven Adams. We all know the story. Steven Adams, has a team meeting, players only team meeting, and says, stop going out, stop doing stupid stuff. Well, what does Ja Morant do? He doesn't listen. He goes on IG, puts a gun or has a gun with him on IG, and then obviously he's at a strip club throwing dollar bills, and there's video, pictures, all that stuff. Dude, like, you're one of the top players in the NBA, and you're going to, doing stupid stuff like that. Like, dude, that's the reason why I don't have him higher right now is because he's getting help, and obviously that he's talked with Adam Silver and whatnot, and, people were concerned about him. So I don't have him that high up right now, but right now I just think you can't do things like that and expect to get away with it. And the fact that you went to that players-only meeting and, found that out, he learned the hard way. And I think he's got to understand, hey, if you're a top-caliber player, you're held to a certain standard, and you can't be doing things like that. So, anyway, moving on to our next one, we have number 8, Deshaun Watson. Obviously, we haven't heard much with it. He's a little bit lower on this list. Obviously, we all know the reasons why. He could definitely be immortalized coming up soon. So, Deshaun Watson at number 8. Number 7, Greg Williams, Sean Payton. Voldy, recently, I was watching an XFL game. And, oh boy, I find out that Greg Williams is the defensive coordinator for the DC Defenders.
Yep.
You SOB. Gosh darn it. The Rock, you should have banned him from the XFL. That was a bad idea. Unfortunately, the Battlehawks lost. Still, caca is the law. I should have put him higher. I'm sorry. Why is he still around? He needs to go. He just needs to go. I just can't stand it. But Sean Payton, obviously, with that. And you all know the deal there. Number 6, Johnny Manziel. I think he needs to be immortalized. I think that's so. Let's debate that one when we're done with our list here. So Johnny Manziel, number 5, Urban Meyer, still kind of going down the list a little bit. There's still talk of him maybe coming back and coaching college football under the right circumstance and whatnot. But yeah, I think he'll be fine in that. Just never come back to the NFL. Just don't ever come back to the NFL. And you can do whatever you want, okay? Just don't come back. All right, number 4, Clowntonio Brown. He kind of slid down a little bit just because we haven't heard much since his BS. Apparently he wants to own his own team or something like that. Is it soccer? I can't remember.
I think so.
If he is the owner of a soccer club, yikes. Yeah, that's all I can really say. Yikes. So we have Clowntonio. Number 3, Aaron Rodgers. I won't get too into it because I do want to talk about this in ARA that Voldy has lined up for us. But today, I'll say this. Today, with the McAfee thing, it just kind of shows how much attention he wants to have on himself. And we'll explain that a little bit later. But he's number 3. I'll explain a little bit more in ARA. Number 2, Kyrie Irving. Obviously, he gets traded to the Dallas Mavericks. Apparently, there's a lot of friction between him and Luka or something like that. Shocker. Really? Well, And then he goes on a Twitter video tirade saying that people don't know him. You only watch me for 4 hours, 3 hours. You only been with me for that long of time. Mm-hmm. Well, then why are you acting like a jackass? That's my question. I mean, it's that simple. I won't get too into it, but Kyrie is still up at top. And then number 1, Dan Snyder. He's still the owner of the Washington Commanders. It's still a travesty that he still is. And I think he's definitely up for being in the Hall of Shame here. And I think it's well deserved. And whatnot. So Voldy will talk about that after our list. So that's my list through 10 there. Let us know what you guys think in the chat or comments later on if you're checking it out. And I send it over to Voldy for his list.
So we got to start off with the number 10 spot still on my list as YouTube TV because they're making it so much more difficult to even watch sports in the first place. Apparently, Bally Sports might be going bankrupt before baseball season even gets started as well. So we'll see how that all shapes up. Just let me be able to watch the Wild and the Twins without having to pay for a whole nother service. I just want to be able to watch sports without it being... Can't even watch the national game of the week as well because it's blacked out in our areas as well with it being in-state. So YouTube TV still on my short list. Big Ten Conference at the number 9 spot. Nothing really new to report there. We're kind of making our way down the list with a few of these because they just don't know how to figure themselves out and still continue to water down even more and more. The possibility of USC, UCLA joining the Big Ten in the next season or two is just muddying the waters even much, much more to the fact that it's not even worth having a conference at this point if more and more teams start to show up as well. Commissioner Rob Manfred for Major League Baseball at the number 8 spot in our top 10 and famous list. The pitch clock thing, I'm starting to slowly but surely come around, but he is just still not fully getting it in a lot of different areas, especially with the whole Trevor Bauer situation. Now, we'll get to that in ARA coming up as well. Now he's going to be pitching in Japan. More on that coming up. Still, Rob Manfred, not very well liked in my mind. Number 7, we got our first change here on the list.
Yeah.
The NFL media. Now, the way they treated the Minnesota Vikings this past season is nothing short than petty, is what it is. The Minnesota Vikings had the second best record in the NFC. Ended up being the 3 seed, obviously, and out of it all. The Vikings could go and do something completely insane, like actually win the Super Bowl, and the NFL media will find every single way to illegitimize it to the point saying, well, they didn't really win the Super Bowl. It was the other team that actually lost itself. They could win 75 to -3. The opposing team would find a way to actually lose points, and yet they would still not find a way to make the Minnesota Vikings a great team overall. They would just completely they just found every single way to tear apart every single way that the Vikings performed this season. Sure, there were some good, there were some bad wins. Sure, there were some bad losses. There were great wins. There were even worse losses. But that's how the schedule works. I'm sorry that the Vikings were, winning at the very end with a late second touchdown or winning in overtime or getting a pick to seal a win that they should have won by 20 points or they should have lost by 20. that's just how the schedule goes. Sorry, if you want to make it more tough, then try harder this next season when you put the season schedule out. NFL media is going to be on this list for a good time until they actually give the Vikings some damn respect to the point of the way that they had with a first-year head coach, first-year general manager as well, with a revamp, I shouldn't say revamp, but a new-look offense, brand new defense. Defense took a lot of lumps this season, but overall, the Vikings did play much better than was expected at the beginning of the season, and the NFL found a way to completely tear it all down and not give them any respect whatsoever. Johnny Manziel at the number 6 spot once again. Definitely going to be consideration for enshrinement in the Hall of Shame. Urban Meyer at number 5, I should say. Nothing really new to report with there, just the illegitimacy of his NFL coaching career as well, and everything that
still
went
fresh
that season. During that season, they even make it a full season as well on a very short list of coaches that even make it a full season before being fired. Deshaun Watson at number 4 found a way to basically play himself into a corner where he could have spent 1,000 years in jail, but yet got $280 million guaranteed for the Cleveland Browns, and quite possibly slated to be their starter as well coming up here this season. Ja Morant at number 3 saw that he is going to be suspended for a handful of games with his antics and actions off the court as well. Dumb, childish things. I think the star for Ja Morant since he got drafted out of college out of Murray State is just only getting brighter and brighter, and now he's found a way to shoot that star right out of the sky. Pun intended on this one as well. Antonio Brown, some unsavory Instagram and social media posts as well of a not so safe for work condition, we'll say with that, and definitely has gone off the very, very deep end with Glantonio since that little stunt he had against the Jets and shedding his pads, I should say, and then walking off the field mid-play. And then Dan Snyder right at the top, still owning the Washington Commanders, those commies still under the red curtain that is of Dan Snyder, and doesn't look like, unfortunately, it's going to be going away anytime soon. But, man, you just feel bad for that team, feel bad for those fans and that city. A lot has gone and a lot has happened in the last calendar year, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to be slowing down anytime soon.
Nope, it really isn't. Voldy, I applaud that rant about the NFL media, and I am not the only one that is applauding it. Nick Dahlhoff says, I came to this expecting a fun sports show. I ended up hearing a preacher-level sermon about the NFL media preach. So I think that deserves some clap.
So Kyle Brandt. Kyle Brandt's cool with us.
Voldy, that was flawless. It was flawless.
Kyle Brandt's okay. Kay Adams is all right. That's about it.
There you go. Nate Burleson too. Our guy,
Burleson.
Yeah. We'll throw that in there.
He's starting to get too big time now, Mr. CBS Sunday mornings and stuff. So excuse us.
Yeah. Well, again, like it's happened before. Adam Thielen, All Pro, things like that. I meet Nate Burleson. Good Morning Football. He's off to CBS. He's doing big things. I mean, gosh, it's all working just fine. If you meet me, you are going to have great things happen in your life. Just saying. Anyway, Voldy, I really do like your list. I thought, like you said, the rant was flawless. But we need to have a quick conversation about two guys on these lists. Okay, let's start with John Manziel.
Yeah.
I feel like right now, Voldy, we just need to put him in.
Let's go. Let's get him out of here.
We immortalize him into the Hall of Shame with infamous Jameis Winston. Zoners, let us know if you think that is a smart idea to have infamous Jameis John Manziel in there. I don't think John Manziel has ever gotten to the top of the list, but he's been on the list so consistently, so he deserves to be in the Hall of Shame. Mm-hmm. The next one. Do we want to put Dan Snyder in the Hall of Shame now? Do we want to do that, or do we want to wait until they finally make the change in ownership? What do you think?
I think right now we'd be giving Dan Snyder way too much credit. I think we got to wait this one out a little bit. I think we gotta let this simmer. See what happens here after another football season.
Deal. All right. So immortalized Johnny Manziel. So we will have that next time we do a top 10 and famous. He will not be on the list next time, but we will just put him in the Hall of Shame, and we'll have some fun with that. So and whatnot. Not all is bad with John Manziel, I will say, but things could certainly be better. We'll say that. So here's our list one more time before we move on to ARA, because we got a lot of cool ARAs for tonight. Not much on my end, a lot with Voldy's end here, and we will make sure John Manziel is immortalized with Infamous Jameis, our second Hall of Shame. So, our second guy in the Hall of Shame. So, we're doing well with that. All right, Voldy, let's get to some ARA. We got some wild talk here. We do want to talk about that injury to Kirill Kaprizov. We want to talk about that, and then obviously with free agency, there's been some big moves happening. Aaron Rodgers, we'll get to that and whatnot. Jimmy G, all that fun stuff. So let's get it going. What's up? Absurd or approved?
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it's time for some absurd or approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, we jump right into it with, of course, the Minnesota Wild are going to be, unfortunately, without the services of Kirill the Thrill, as he was injured this past week with a lower body injury as he got crunched up on by Logan Stanley from the Winnipeg Jets. Seemed like a little bit of a dirty move by him as he got kind of stretched out in the legs and maybe pulled something as well in that lower body area. So looks like about a month's time will the Wild be without them, without the services of Kirill the Thrill. Still on a 14-game point streak right now for the Minnesota Wild. They're taking on St. Louis tonight and finding ways to win, steal points as well from some teams. And, with only 17 games left, that's leading up into tonight. Their win this past week against Winnipeg now moved them into a first-place tie with Dallas. Fortunately, Dallas got a couple games in hand. They've got the the season series right now to their favor. But the Wild just this time, 2-3 weeks ago, since probably the last time we talked about the Wild pre-deadline, trade deadline, they're sitting third in the division, sitting behind Colorado, staring up at what Dallas is doing. But they do have some, have a little momentum on their side. Unfortunately, Kirill Kaprizov being one of the catalysts for this point streak that they do have. Is it absurd or approved? The Wild will be in trouble with Kirill the Thrill being out for 3 to 4 weeks.
Well, first of all, it sucks because we all want Kirill the Thrill out there on the ice and whatnot. But I think they're going to be able to find a way. I believe we've been seeing a lot of I feel like Boldy's been kind of quiet, but he scored last game, and I think he's starting to get going a little bit. Zuccarello, I think, his stats might be lower with Kirill out, but I also think that this is a chance for the young guys to step up and, kind of keep within the race. You don't want to have the Wild going in on a losing streak, having these long losing streaks and not getting points. They're talented enough to stick with it. With Kirill being injured, it doesn't seem like this is going to be the end-all be-all for the team, and I think he's going to be fine after the 3 to 4 weeks. However, it's going to go. I feel like take your time. This guy's your franchise right now. Don't screw this up. Right. So, are they going to suffer? I think a little bit. They're going to suffer a little bit just because you're missing that guy, especially with teams like, again, they've struggled against the Blues. We all know that. It doesn't matter if their team's good, if they're not good. The Wild struggled against the Blues. But let's not just go on this big losing streak and we can't get anything going. You added those guys at the deadline, and now they can, kind of shine. a little bit. So I think this is a good idea for the Wild to have these young guys kind of come in and step up. But I think it's going to affect them. It will affect them, but I don't think it's to the point of they're not going to be in the mix they're going to be in the playoffs. I think there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I think they'll hold fast until he gets back. So that's what I think. Voldy, what do you think?
I mean, looking at the overall makeup of what's happened since Kirill's, gone down too, and you talk about some of those guys, Marcus Johansson, Oscar Sundqvist, John Klingberg as well, those guys that have come in. Basically, you put all three of them together, you're going to get one Kirill Kaprizov out of it as well. Freddie Gaudreau's really stepped up here as of late. He's now, I think, 5th on the team in points right now with 30 points overall. Boldy's sitting in 4th right now. Joel Eriksson Ek, Matt Zuccarello as well, have kind of shouldered the burden a little bit. But seeing a lot of these younger guys, Brendan Duhaime, a really nice tear as of late, too, in the last handful of games. 7 goals of his 8 points in total have come during this recent win streak of his, too. And then seeing some of the other guys that have been called up as of late, you're going to get your points as well from the likes of, from Jared Spurgeon as well. You do have Matt Boldy, who's 4th on the team right now in points right now, but he's been a little bit quiet as of late. Matt Dumba unfortunately hasn't been to the same level of production that he has in the past. 65 games, he's only got 13 points in total. He's minus 11, but playing 21 minutes a game. I think another big thing that we haven't really chatted about too, it's the goaltending. The Wild are 4th in the league right now with save percentage at 91% in save percentage, soon to almost 92 as well, with Gustafsson, with also Marc-Andre Fleury, but Gustafsson really getting the last recent starts too. 17 wins, 8 losses, and 5 overtime losses as well. But Fleury, 21 wins too. This team's got a decent chance to win a William Jennings Award for the best save percentage in the league too. But Boston's really taking the lead on that one as well with their Titanic of a season that they had. Are they going to be hurt? Yes, but I feel like the goaltending is going to be well enough during this last recent stretch for the Wild here too that they're going to be able to contend, I think. So that's going to be a big help for them here in the back half of the schedule. But looking at their, these last 15 games they've got, they've got St. Louis tonight, they got Boston on Saturday, and then they've got games against Washington, New Jersey, Philly, Chicago. They play Vegas twice. They don't play Dallas for the rest of the season, unfortunately. They got a home and home against Vegas. They've got Pittsburgh coming to town. This is not an easy back half of the schedule. They do have a few gimmies, but at the same time, you don't want those gimmies to slip right through your fingers. But they do have some opportunities here to at least come out with a well over above 500 record with the back half of the schedule. So I feel like the goaltending is really going to have to shoulder the burden in the back half of the season for the Wild.
Yep. And it just shows, too, that, it sucks, but you got to be able to adjust if your guy's out. So hopefully they can hold fast. And that Bruins game, oh, God, I don't know. That's going to be tough. They've been on a tear. So we'll keep an eye on it. All right, next one, Volde.
Well, it was announced earlier today during the Pat McAfee show that Aaron Rodgers does intend to play for the New York Jets this season. Claps all around from Vikings fans. See ya, I guess. We'll take that. But now it really provides a bit of a logjam in the AFC East with the potential of Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets as well. Nothing official as of yet. There have been reports about a deal being done, compensation for the Packers as well to send Rodgers to the New York Jets, but nothing is official as of yet. This is all just word of mouth, hearsay, and so-and-so saying to so-and-so. Aaron Rodgers is done in Green Bay. He came out of his darkness retreat. He said that, he had a lot of time to think. Did he want to retire? No. He went to do his workout and everything. He felt like he could still play. The drive is still there, and he says he wants to play for the New York Jets. That's probably something in the last decade that not a lot of people have wanted to say that they wanted to play for the Jets. But Aaron Rodgers wants to go to the New York Jets, and he wants to play. So is it absurd or approved if and when Rodgers does get to New York to be quarterback for the AFC, for the New York Jets, this will put them in contention for the AFC East title with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback?
Well, before I get into that, one thing I just want to say, I'm about to make $50 here. Mets, you better pay up. You better pay up, man. This is no surprise. No surprise. And the reason why it's no surprise is because there is no way he was going to be playing for the green and gold coming up this year. The proof was in the pudding. You don't have to believe everything you hear and whatnot about Frogers, but it was evident. Either he was going to retire or he's going to play for the Jets. He was not going to play for Green Bay. And, again, a fantastic career. I'm not going to dispute that. I'm not going to, go from saying that. But what I think is absurd, I will say, is that he went into the darkness thing with 90% he was going to retire, 10% he was going to play. I think he's full of you-know-what on that. I really do think he's full of you-know-what on that. But, again, whatever, just to get attention, he's the media darling. Literally, no offense to NFL Network, because I do like watching NFL Network, but literally they were talking about Aaron Rodgers and the Packers for, 45 minutes. And it's ridiculous to even keep talking about it because no one wants to keep hearing it. But let's answer your question. If they're going to win the AFC East, they are not going to win.
Yeah.
Who's going to win is the Buffalo Bills. And the reason why I say that is because I think there's running backs out there that they're going to target. Now, here's another question. Is Stephon Diggs still, is he still pissed about how they lost and mad at Josh Allen? Are they, not on the same page? It's a lot to factor in with that. So, I'm going to go with the Bills. I don't think they're going to win. I could see this falling apart with the Jets, but I could also see it working out. Just Adam Thielen, I beg of you, do not go to the New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers. Okay, do not go with Aaron Rodgers. Don't let him recruit you. Okay, let him take Lazard and Cobb and all those guys. I don't care.
Totally.
A stupid list I didn't put a list. Well, I believe it. If they just signed Alan Lazard, obviously you want him there. It's that simple. So, no, I think it's absurd. I think they're going to win the Bills are going to win that division. But I think I don't know, maybe the Patriots hop them. I don't know. So
we'll see.
The Dolphins are good too, so I can't forget that. Voldy. I think it's
this is it certainly puts them in contention if this deal. Look, again, nothing is 100% final on this.
True.
This is all hearsay until we get confirmation that Aaron Rodgers being traded to the Jets for everything but the kitchen sink to Green Bay. This is all just speculation right now. Nothing is 100% sure. I know they're still working out details and everything for Green Bay. But this could very easily fall through, and then Aaron Rodgers is just left here between a rock and a hard place, and the Packers have him, but he's not going to play for them. I would definitely say when this does happen, I don't think they're going to win the division. This is Buffalo's division to lose. They'll certainly be quite competitive, and I think they might get a wild card spot out of the deal. I think it's just too competitive a division. This is the same situation that it was with the AFC West. More on that coming up here very soon as well, talking about the AFC West. But I think this is definitely in a quarterback division. This is definitely the very tippy top of the division, especially in the AFC East, which is now just a log jam of quarterbacks. And I think this will definitely be something worth noting as well. Are they going to win the AFC East? No, it's completely absurd.
I have breaking news.
Uh-oh.
I have breaking news. Do we have a good thing for it? Let's do it. I'll do it earlier.
All right, now I got to look it up too.
The Minnesota Vikings have signed Alexander Mattison.
Good.
2-year deal. I think it said $6 million guaranteed or something like that. I'd have to look it up because I just saw it go across the scrolling screen on NFL Network. So, Alexander Mattison back with the Minnesota Vikings. Voldy, how do we feel about that? Quick reaction.
Good. 2 years, $7 million, could be worth up to $8 million, and with 6.5 guarantees as well. I like it. Madison is a very good backup running back. Could be a number one if you wanted to. We'll see how that plays out for Dalvin.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder
Yep.
how they feel about that. So we'll keep an eye out on that. But just to top off the Rogers thing, you're right. I mean, we don't know. I mean, the ink's got to be signed. But I'm still feeling the $50 is coming my way from Mets. I feel good about it. I mean, he did say since Friday my intention was to play for the Jets. So get it done, Green Bay. Just get it done so we can be rid of this and have Jordan Love, set your franchise back like 10 years or something. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, done with that. Next one, Voldy.
Well, we talked about from one quarterback seeing the possibility of heading out to a new division and a new conference. Well, we've got one that's just going to be moving across to a different state. And Jimmy Garoppolo signed a 3-year, $67.5 million deal with the Las Vegas Raiders, reuniting with former OC, now head coach, and Josh McDaniels in the silver and black. Now, quarterback concern for the Raiders, well, they didn't have any up until, they signed Garoppolo. They did release Derek Carr earlier this month, and they did see Jarrett Stidham, who is potential to sign a deal with the Denver Broncos as well for I believe, a 2-year contract. So that opened the door wide open for Jimmy Garoppolo and the whole quarterback situation they had in San Francisco during the back end of his tenure there. Now puts a very interesting another log jam as well, with all the quarterbacks leading the way in the AFC West. Of course, coming into this season, we saw Russell Wilson sign in Denver, so that put four very strong quarterbacks at the forefront in what was supposed to be a very good division as well. But ultimately, Kansas City won the division. They, come back as Super Bowl champions as well. Denver underperformed. Vegas underperformed as they have in recent years too, but still puts a very interesting note in for Jimmy G and the Raiders as well. Is it absurd or approved? Will the Raiders be in contention for a wild card spot this coming season with Jimmy G leading the way offensively?
Well, I think there's a couple things you want to factor in too with this signing with Jimmy G. I would say I'd feel better about their chances if they still had Darren Waller.
Yes.
They go out and trade him to the New York Giants, which I think is surprising to say the least. I feel like
the low blow is what it is.
Yeah, it's a low blow, right? Like you said,
man just got married, for God's sake.
Yeah, for goodness sake, he just got married, and all of a sudden you're trading him to the Giants. I would say they may have a little bit more of a chance on that, but at the same time too, you have Devontae Adams, which I think is going to help Jimmy G a lot, and you're back with Josh McDaniels again, which could be good, but we all kind of understand, there's something up with the Raiders. There's like a black cat running around that franchise, and they have the potential, then they just absolutely look like the worst team in the league, and it's just a whole thing. But with everything that he has around him, I do like what Devontae, and they bring back Josh Jacobs, which I still think he deserves a big contract. He played great last year. And I would say that, it's got my stamp of approval. They will be kind of in the mix, but I can't guarantee they're going to make it. And if they don't, maybe you start looking at Josh McDaniels a little bit. But I will say that what a roller coaster for Jimmy G. I will say. I mean, with the 49ers, they trade for him, they give him the contract, and they think he's the future. Then they don't like him, and then they try to trade him. Then they couldn't trade him. I mean, it's just a whole thing. And then that whole deal with the adult entertainment, dating that Hilton Entertainment star and whatnot. But anyway.
Good on
at
him
the same
for
time.
that.
Yeah, we'll go from there. But I think it's a good fit. I really do think it's a good fit. He's paired with a guy he knows, and I think they can do some good things. I think they're going to pound the rock with Josh Jacobs and then hit him over the top with Devontae. So I like it, but I also could see it failing too. So, but yeah, we'll go with that. They'll be in contention though, wild card spot. Voldy, what do you think?
I definitely see there is some room to go with there. With you give Jimmy G some weapons, he could make it work.
Yeah.
Josh Jacobs coming back, running game, that's going to be a big help for him. You got Hunter Renfrow. You do have Devontae Adams as well. They did sign Jacoby Myers, who does have some familiarity with Jimmy G, and obviously with Josh McDaniels as well, former New England offensive coordinator as well. That's going to be a little bit of help, a little bit of familiarity with that too. But I would definitely feel a lot better if they did have Darren Waller still in tow. It was going to cost them quite a bit to keep Waller around as well, because he's been one of the big offensive weapons that they've had consistently over the last few years for them too. But him getting traded to the Giants, big time blow for them. But I feel like they could be in contention in a couple of ways. Defense got to get a little bit better, I think, in my mind, in a few different ways there. Sure. But certainly going to be, again, this is a tough division to be in, because you got Kansas City, obviously defending Super Bowl champions, defending division champions as well. You've got the Chargers. We didn't even mention the Chargers, too. They're on their way up, too. They picked up a couple of guys this offseason as well, besides Austin Eckler looking like he's on his way out the door, too. But they did sign Eric Kendricks on the defensive side, which is already a loaded defensive unit that they have. If they can stay healthy, they could be a really good defense for the Chargers. We know Justin Herbert is definitely a great playmaker for them, and certainly will be a very, very good division to watch. Every divisional matchup should be great this season in the AFC West. But this is a very loaded AFC conference, and if I was ever going to be a proponent of an expanded playoff field, it would just be for the AFC East. NFC doesn't need more teams to get into the playoffs, because you'd like to see the whole division for the AFC West get in, just to see what they can do in the postseason too. Maybe a couple extra teams in the AFC East too, especially with how competitive those divisional matchups went too. But will they make the wild card? No, I don't think they will, unfortunately, just because way too many better teams. But wouldn't be surprised if they ended up being a contender overall.
True. I think a contender at least, but I could also, like we said, we could also see it fall flat on its face, as we've seen in recent years now. So, all right, next one, Voldy.
Well, looks like the Trevor Bauer experience in Major League Baseball is going to be on hiatus for at least 1 year, as the former Cy Young winner has signed a 1-year contract to pitch professionally in the Nippon Professional Baseball League in Japan for the Yokohama Bay Stars, a popular franchise, as he'll be rejoining professional baseball since that nearly 2-year suspension that he had been dealing with. Now 32 years old, last pitched obviously in June of 2021. But it's going to be the return for baseball for the likes of Trevor Bauer, as he will be, heading to Japan. Usually going to Japan spells the end of your Major League Baseball career, but getting almost 2 years off, you would think that would be a big benefit for Trevor Bauer, because it's not like he's just been sitting around the house doing much of anything. But obviously with him, there's a little bit of baggage that comes along with it. Very outspoken, very adamant about his position, of course, with the off-the-field incident as well, in sexual misconduct that led to a lawsuit, which ultimately was withdrawn as well, and the restraining order as well. Whole bunch of legality issues, but ultimately Trevor Bauer is not found in the wrong in any of that. But is it going to be absurd or approved? Because it just seems like Major League Baseball and all the teams, nobody really made a point to try to reach out and try to sign a guy who is basically fresh, as fresh can be, considering that even going into that 2021 season, he was coming off of winning the Cy Young the year before too. So is it absurd or approved? Trevor Bauer, even though he has been quote-unquote blacklisted, will he ever pitch in Major League Baseball again?
It's a great question. I think this is a good way for him to showcase what he still has as a pitcher, and I think this is a good opportunity. He said he's always wanted to play in Japan, which, I get that and whatnot, but I also think, too, that it was a deal that he knew maybe there weren't some teams that were willing to take that chance, and we obviously know the Twins won't take that chance. But I will say, adding to this too, is that he can showcase what he can still do, and if he does well, then teams are going to come calling. And I think this is a good opportunity for him to do that. Now, I think he is going to play in the MLB again. I don't know where, for what team or anything like that. Right. But I think this is a good way for him to kind of, show a lot of the teams that he still has something. And maybe it's not, him being the top guy, but who knows? Maybe he will be. I don't know. But I think this is something to where he's going to. I think he's going to do well in Japan. I really believe it, because I feel like every time that someone needs to kind of have a reset and kind of showcase what they can still do, they go to different places. They don't go in the some guys go to the minor leagues and things like that. But yeah, he is. I'll give it my stamp of approval. I think he'll play in the MLB again. So, Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, I think this is going to be basically, I hope this is going to be a one-year stint for him in Japan to basically be, kind of a long-term tryout, if you will. He'll get his starts. He'll get his, appearances on the mound and, obviously showcase that he's still got the stuff too, because like we said, it's not like he's been sitting around doing nothing. He's been creating content and, pitching against a bunch of scrubs and, high school, college kids, but still getting his work in, still doing that, obviously the content side of things, but, it's not like he's going to be doing that against a bunch of high school, college kids. The Japanese leagues are pretty good. Those guys know how to hit over there, and they'll either make him look really good or really bad. It's just to see that he hasn't pitched since June of 2021. So the arm, couple of years off it. How much rust is there going to be? Is it going to be effective right away? Maybe gained a little velocity with that amount of rest that he's had. Let's just see how it all pans out. But will he ever pitch Major League Baseball? I say yes. 2024. Yeah. Let's hope by the off season in 2023 he'll be able to sign a deal with a team.
Yep. Like we said, just see how it goes and go from there. But all right, it's that time again. Next one, Volde.
Well, March Madness is finally upon us. Last of the first four games going to be taking place here, at least wrapping up here, but does bring out, of course, that yearly tradition of filling out those brackets. Who's going to be the Cinderella team? Who's going to make the run to the Final Four and eventually win a national championship? So, you know what? How many brackets you filled out? Who you got in your Final Four and is eventual national champion there for you, sir?
This is going to sound bad because I've just been there's been so much going on. I have yet to fill out a bracket yet. Have yet to fill out a bracket yet. So yes, if there's booze and Zim cussing at me, which deservedly so. But let me say this. I've actually kind of on the same topic. I've had people ask me why we haven't talked about the Gopher basketball. Why? They were seven and whatever. I mean, I don't want to sit here and say what they need to do. They're in rebuild mode. We all know that. Yep. And Ben Johnson's doing the best he can right now. Let's give them another year to see if there's some improvement. But things need to change. That's for sure. They got to make sure they're getting guys. And I saw some guys transfer out, go to the transfer portal. So that's why we haven't been talking about it. But let's get back to the task at hand. This is wide open. I'm going to say it right now. This whole tournament's wide open. We saw Kansas win last year, which they, haven't done since, what was it, 2008?
I forgot about that. Gross.
Yeah. Kansas won and won it all. They lost in the Big 12 tournament in the championship game versus Texas. So I think Texas is a team to look at. I think they've kind of righted the ship a little bit because they did fire their coach early in the season, and then they had one of their assistants come in, and look, they just won the Big 12. So I think Texas will be in the mix, but the team that people have been talking about, and I just and I've been kind of popping in here and there. Alabama, Alabama in basketball. What is going on here? So I think I'll probably have Alabama in a couple of the brackets, and maybe I'll throw Texas, maybe do a dark horse in there. So to answer your question, I have not yet, and I think I might just do it right after the show here. So
For sure.
we'll kind of go from there. I think there's going to be a lot of upsets as per usual, but we never know who's going to upset who. So
Right.
we'll see. What do you got? Who do you got, Voldy?
Yeah, I mean, like you had said, it's been a wide open year when it comes to college basketball. A lot of teams, a lot of upsets. Number ones going in and out like crazy. Purdue was ranked number one at one point. Alabama, Houston as well throughout the year at that number one spot. I've only filled out a couple brackets. I'm not much of a bracket guy. I like to keep tabs on the tournament, obviously, make sure how that's all playing out. I filled out a couple brackets for, with a coworker who's got a pool as well. I had Duke winning both times. I don't know why. Just kind of feels that way. First year head coach, of course, that being John Shire. Former Duke player as well, that it just kind of speaks to me a little bit. I had in one of my brackets for the Final Four, I had Arizona, Penn State, Kansas, and Duke, with Duke winning the national championship in that one. Another one I had Alabama, Texas, UCLA, and Duke. Duke winning the national championship again as well. I don't know why. Just I'm not a big
shooting from the hip.
Yeah, I'm just shooting straight gut reaction. I'm not going to play into the whole stats, head to head. Better free throw percentage, 3-point shooting inside an arena that's in the East Coast time zone under the Appalachian Mountain. None of that extended stats or anything. Analytics, you could throw it right out the window. Straight gut reaction. Didn't have much for upsets because, you just can never really track it. I'm not going to be heartbroken if my bracket is busted after day one. We'll be fairly happy if I end up with a perfect bracket. Ended up getting that Warren Buffett money for the $1 billion or whatever he's still offering for the perfect bracket as well. But we'll certainly take it as it can. Let's go Dukies.
So go Blue Devils. I got Roll Tide just because I'm literally shooting from the hip too. So maybe in the other bracket I'll do Kansas just for S and giggles. I'll go with that. So, but yeah, I'll definitely be watching some of those games because every time you catch a good game and someone wins at the buzzer. So
yeah, exactly.
It's enjoyable. But anyway, great job with ARA, Voldy, and we made good on our promise. Breaking news right in the middle of ARA.
We did.
We called it. Pat Pete, now Alexander Madison. So we're happy that Alexander Madison is back with the Minnesota Vikings. What does that mean for Delvin? We shall see.
We shall see.
Anyway, we got some Shield shout-outs to get to tonight. And yeah, then there's some good ones tonight. That's for sure. As a couple memorials and whatnot, and obviously a legend that will be Voldy will be shouting out here tonight. So let's get it going with some Shield shout-outs.
Shield shout-outs.
All right, Shield, who ya shouting out tonight?
Well, sadly, over the weekend, we did lose a Minnesota pro sports legend in many, many regards as well. Legendary Vikings coach Bud Grant did pass away. Not just a Vikings head football coach. This guy was Minnesota through and through. Even though he was born in Wisconsin, we'll look past the fact, but was a multi-sport athlete at the University of Minnesota, lettered in baseball, football, and basketball as well. Even after his collegiate career, of course, ended up being in the Navy. Then after that, played professional basketball for the Minneapolis Lakers. Didn't even know that. Won a championship with old George Mikan and the squad back in the day with the Minneapolis Lakers. Then ended up playing a little bit of pro football as well. Ended up being head coach for the Minnesota Vikings. Of course, the legendary head coach for those Purple People Eaters. Of course, through the days and the times of Met Stadium and the 4 Super Bowl trips too, winning 4 Grey Cups with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Had a very prolific career in Canada as well with those Winnipeg Blue Bombers, so cannot take that away from Bud Grant. Sadly, did pass away I'm sure there's a lot of different stories, a lot of things that come to mind when you think about Bud Grant and the Minnesota Vikings. But of course, the one that always sticks out in my mind, obviously, 2015 wild card game against Seattle, just setting the tone from the very flip of the coin, walking out midfield, -20 wind chills. He's out in a polo and a ball cap, just setting the tone for the whole team as well. So
legendary.
Bud Grant will be definitely missed by the Viking fans, and of course just sports in general, especially for those that maybe met him, ran into him in a coincidence as well, or just knew him from afar. Bud Grant will sadly be missed. And well, with obviously the big year that is for the NFL season to start, retirements, releases, players moving to other teams, but one player that will remain intact as a whole, Devin McCourty, New England Patriots corner and safety. Originally a corner, switched to safety, or vice versa, either way. I think it was a corner, then switched to safety. But Devin McCourty announced his retirement from the National Football League. 3-time Super Bowl champion, was an All-Pro, multi-time Pro Bowler, one half of the McCourty twins. From the very get of him getting drafted out of Rutgers, was a playmaker from the very beginning and the entire time in his career with the New England Patriots as well. Defensively, on special teams, kickoff returns as well early in his career, was a big catalyst as well, stripping the ball out, interceptions, defensive leader in many areas for Devin McCourty and those New England Patriot teams defensively as well. Announces retirement from the NFL, will be missed, especially, one of my favorite players defensively for the Patriots in his time as well. On to bigger and better things. I know Jason's doing the broadcasting thing as well, so hopefully it won't be too far behind with Devin in tow with him now adjusting post-NFL career too. So happy retirement as well to Devin McCourty. That's going to do it for Shield shoutouts this week.
Yes, and kind of going back to the Bud Grant thing, and I believe there was a Sports Zone Bud Grant connection at one point. Almost.
Really?
Almost. Our good friend, unfortunately still a Packer fan, Ryan Coombe, he went to some, I don't know, it was like a signing, or maybe it was one of his garage sales that
Probably.
are very popular. But Coombe went there, and Coombe said, hey, like, I got a MinneZona thing, I'll give it a shot. And so he asked him, and he goes, oh, I don't do that anymore. So it's like, dang it! Oh, well. But, it's all good. Legend, nonetheless. And, he said that he never went into hospice care. He didn't have to go to, like, a nursing home or anything like that. He says, I've lived in this house. I've had kids here, and, I've had a family and whatnot. I will die in this house and whatnot. And unfortunately, obviously, it's sad, not because he has an office at TCO and whatnot, and it's still going to be there for Bud as well. So, prayers out to the family, things like there's going to be a celebration of his life, I think, in May or something like that for the public and whatnot. And my dad, I think Papa Callahan said it too. He was my favorite. That's what Papa Callahan said. So, because he's seen it all. So, Bud Grant, absolute legend. So, and then McCourty too, Devin McCourty. I think he was on GMFB and he was talking about how I'm still kind of weighing the options, but it seemed like he was leaning more towards retirement. So, congratulations to him. Great job. Well, Shield shoutouts, Voldy, as per usual.
Sir.
And a lot of free agency frenzy going on today. And
Seriously.
Later on in the night here, there'll probably be some more news, but we'll keep you up to date on it and kind of go from there. Keep you posted. Before we get into the merch and all that, which is available, by the way, we got some nice hats that we're wearing here. Voldy World Baseball Classic, and obviously our guy, Coach Payne. I'm repping it. I'm repping it, man. You know, so hopefully we said that, Coach Payne. And what hat do you have for the Zoners?
Yeah, I got the Netherlands, the Kingdom of the Netherlands from the World Baseball Classic. I just thought it was a cool hat, represent a little bit. You know, Xander Bogaerts, Andrelton Simmons, of course, Kenley Jansen back in the day. He wasn't pitching this go around with the Kingdom of the Netherlands, but a lot of great ball players out of the Netherlands. Bert Blyleven was pitching coach, and Andrew Jones is hitting coach as well. Hensley Mullins as the manager as well. But the Kingdom Netherlands always a sneaky group with the World Baseball Classic. Sadly, this year just didn't really come around to it. So,
yeah, well, it's a cool hat nonetheless, I will say.
For sure. Mm-hmm.
So, you know, just repping that merch and whatnot. Speaking of merch, I like the way that we put it. We got merch. We've got awesome merch. We've got stickers that are still available. And people that have gotten those stickers and love the stickers and have used those stickers, they've put it on their trucks. They've put it on their cars. So make sure you check it out. We got $2 ones, $2 ones for the small ones, $3 ones for the big ones. We're not going that high. But Voldy's wearing the hat right there, MinneZona Sports Live hat, $20, $5 shipping. And also the shirts, $20, $5 shipping, baby. So we got our merch. We got plenty of merch. Thank you to National Fleet Graphic, Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson, working on getting some more there. And then make sure you check out W2 Performance on YouTube. Will Rattel, check them out online, www.w2performance.com. And make sure you guys check out the Victorious POD. Jack's been talking about the NFL free agency, the fantasy impact to a lot of these signings and whatnot. So make sure you check that out. And then one other thing, too, make sure you check out the Popcorn Bucket List with Nick Dahlhoff, our guy, Ryan Meyerberg. So make sure you guys check those out. They have new episodes weekly, so make sure you check those guys out. A lot of fun. So, there's Lucas saying, yes, sir. You're darn right, Lucas. Yes, sir. We got a lot. Yes, Skull. Yep, Skull. We got a lot going on. There's going to be more coming, Lucas. There's going to be more coming, so we'll keep an eye on it and let you guys know. Fill out your brackets, all that fun stuff. I'll try to do that here. But that'll do it for episode 142. There's going to be a lot more news coming. We'll keep you up to date. We've got some stuff posted with Jason Schmitz. Obviously, some good, some bad, but at the same time, it's all in good fun. So, let's see, Lucas, send me the link to the bracket thing. Love to get in. You guys rock. Well, I guess we're not doing a bracket thing, but maybe we will. Maybe do it for some stickers. We'll think about it. We'll
kind
talk
of
about
at 0 hour right now, so.
Yeah, yep, we'll talk about it. Send me the link to the bracket thing. We'll try working that out for you. We got you. Anyway, that'll do it for episode 142. And as always, remember, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.